come back to you, Senator Patterson.
Thanks, Chair. For your time management purposes, I hope these are my last two sets of questions for outcome one, and then I'll be ready to move to outcome two. Speaking of vendor risk, does the Minister for Home Affairs still drive a Chinese-made electric vehicle?
That really is important.
I believe his personal vehicle. I'll find out. I think it's a personal vehicle. That is, yes. We talked about this last time.
We did, and you took on notice what type of vehicle it was, and that question hasn't been answered. Are you able to answer that today?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I'll see what I can find out.
Okay. It should be a straightforward question. What's the type of vehicle? It should be take seconds, not months, to check. I presume the Minister hasn't sought advice about using a different vehicle if he's continuing to use it, to your knowledge?
I don't know what advice the Minister's sought. What I do know...
Well, officials may help with that.
What I do know, because I've checked this with the Minister, is that he takes the position that he shouldn't and does not discuss sensitive matters in any car, whether it be a Chinese-made car. I mean, unfortunately, of course, there's no more Australian-made cars because you lot got rid of the industry, but Japanese-made car, an American-made car, a Thai-made car. It would be nice if we still had a car industry,
yeah,
but
Mitsubishi and Ford closed on your watch, Minister.
But the point is that the Minister doesn't discuss sensitive or security matters in any car, whether it be his own or any other car.
If only foreign intelligence agencies were only interested in classified matters and not a whole other range of matters, that would be comforting, but it's not. The department's briefed the Minister on 5 occasions, according to a question on notice from the last estimates. Was anyone at the table involved in those briefings to the Minister?
In relation to his vehicle, Senator?
Pardon me?
In relation to his vehicle?
No, just in relation to the 5 occasions that the national security risks of connected vehicles were briefed to the Minister.
Yes, Senator. In fact, I think the Secretary's been involved in some of those briefings. I have, and Mr Anstey as well.
Okay. Those of you who are at the table who were involved in those briefings, on how many occasions was the Minister's own car specifically discussed at those meetings? Take it in turn. Mr Hansford first. When you attended the meetings, was the Minister's car ever discussed?
Well, the Minister talked about his own vehicle on the 1st of August 2024, and that's the meeting at which we provided oral advice about mitigations and security mitigations, and I believe the Secretary was also present at that meeting.
Okay. Ms Foster, were there any other meetings other than the 1st of August where the Minister's car was discussed that you were at?
Senator, that's the only meeting I recall where the Minister sought our advice and we provided that advice. I am aware that he also had briefings from 2 relevant security agencies on the same subject.
Okay, can you say which agencies and when?
Senator, it was ASD and ASIO, but the dates I don't have.
Could you take that on notice?
Yes, Senator.
Thank you. Mr Anstey, were you present at any meetings other than the 1st of August where the Minister's car was discussed?
Not to my recollection, Senator.
Okay, thank you. I put in a FOI in relation to this matter, and the FOI came back and said there were no documents available because the briefings were conducted verbally in late July 2024. That's obviously very close to 1 August, so I assume it was late July or early August that the Minister was briefed?
1st of August where that particular matter was discussed. The other discussions relate to connected vehicles generally.
Yes, but I specifically requested the mitigation advice provided to the Minister, and I was told the briefings were conducted verbally in late July 2024.
That's right. 1 August is the date of the briefing.
Okay.
Senator, just for clarity, the Minister raised the subject of his vehicle with me pretty much immediately on appointment, which was the trigger for that briefing, and so that might be the confusion between late July and 1 August.
All right, so at least 2 meetings where it was discussed and the advice was provided on the 1st of August.
That's correct.
So for this mitigation advice, did no one in the room have any prepared notes or talking points or guidance?
Not to my knowledge, Senator.
Who was the person, was it any of you at the table who provided this advice, who was responsible for providing the advice?
So I know that I provided advice to the Minister when he raised the issue in the meeting.
Yep. Okay, so Mr Hansford, you're a very knowledgeable person in this area, but surely even someone as knowledgeable as you, if you're to be providing mitigation advice to a Minister of the Crown to protect himself from a national security risk, you would have a document or something to refer to, either to refresh your memory or to leave with him so that he knows what he needs to do?
Senator, the Minister raised the issue at the meeting and I provided mitigation advice at the time and it was oral.
Right, so you weren't anticipating providing that advice at that meeting because Secretary Foster just said a moment ago that this meeting was to brief the Minister after he had raised it in his initial meeting with her.
I think the meeting canvassed a range of issues. This one was an issue the Minister raised at the meeting. I wasn't expecting it to be raised, but of course the Secretary might have further information.
So, Senator, as I said, the Minister had raised the fact of his car with me, and I don't recall the exact date, but very shortly after his appointment, if not immediately on his appointment. And so the immediate follow-up to that was, as Mr Hamish said, in that one August meeting, where I think Mr Hansford was comfortable that he knew what advice that he needed to provide when the Minister raised it directly with him. He wasn't at the first meeting where the Minister spoke to me.
Okay. Mr Hansford, what mitigations did you suggest the Minister take?
A range of mitigations, but principally the fact that using a work device that the Minister has been issued by the department shouldn't be connected to the connected vehicle. And from memory, Secretary, we canvassed discussions as well that relate to discussions that are outside of a secure environment, inclusive of a connected vehicle.
So the Minister's not to connect his ministerial phone to the car, is that your advice?
His official, his departmentally provided phone, Senator.
Yes, yep, that's what I mean. Can he connect his personal phone to it?
That would be a matter for the Minister.
What's your advice? Is it a good idea for a Minister to connect their personal phone to a Chinese-made electric vehicle?
I think our advice is grounded in the Protective Security Policy Framework, which relates to the transmission of information. So Table 20 in the PSPF relates to the classified information and then the device. So both of those issues are in play. And so I think when you look at things like connection of personal devices to cars, of course, any internet connection creates an added vulnerability. And so looking at the risks and mitigations is an area where people need to particularly focus, and that's anyone, actually.
Okay. Is it only classified material that foreign intelligence agencies are interested in?
The so-called mosaic effect looks at a range of information, including classified and unclassified information, to build pictures of a whole range of things. And so, no, it's not only classified information.
And so the personal device of the Minister for Home Affairs would be of great interest to a foreign intelligence agency, wouldn't it?
No doubt, but equally any advice to any public servant relates to risk mitigation and appropriateness, and the Minister at the table has outlined that the Minister has provided a response.
So if the Minister shouldn't connect his work device to his car, and you concede his personal device would be of great interest to a foreign intelligence agency, presumably he shouldn't connect his personal device either.
Well, I think anyone would have to look at the risks and assess the risks.
I'm not asking for anyone, I'm asking what your advice was to the Minister for Home Affairs when you provided it to him.
Well, I didn't canvass that specific issue. We provided advice in relation to departmental issued devices and generally about conversations in or in proximate range to connected vehicles.
The advice, the answer that was given to me in the previous round of estimates is that all necessary mitigations have been taken. It doesn't sound to me like all necessary mitigations could have been taken if you didn't canvass the issue of personal devices.
So, Senator, as Mr Hansford said, we were concerned with providing the Minister advice in relation to the departmentally provided device. And I noted also that he had subsequent discussions with ASD and ASU.
Ms Hansford, did you provide any other mitigation advice other than not connecting his official device to the car?
I think Mr Hansford's already said that there was a more general discussion about the need to consider in any environment, as Minister Watts said, what kind of information is discussed.
Yep. And was there any other advice?
Not to my memory. It was a brief discussion and not to my memory, no.
Did you tell the Minister that it wouldn't be a good idea to take this car to any secure facilities if he's receiving a briefing?
I don't recall that advice, no.
Well, is it a good idea for the Minister to take a Chinese-made EV to a secure facility for a briefing?
Well, I think that any actions by anyone needs to look at risks that might arise from any action. And so when you look at the protective security policy framework, the principles that are in that framework should apply to public servants. They don't apply to the Minister, but any risks, any action that individuals take, it's got to have a risk mitigation in some sort.
Can these risks be adequately mitigated? Wouldn't it just be better if the Minister wasn't driving a Chinese-made EV?
Well, I think that's really a matter for the Minister.
Oh, I know, but that's the Minister's decision is a matter for him, but your advice is a matter for you. Wouldn't it be safer if the Minister just didn't drive a potential listing device around?
Senator, our obligation is to ensure that the Minister understands the mitigations.
And there are like different steps you could take to mitigate it, including the advice that Mr Hansford given. Glad that that's been given, but wouldn't it be even better if the Minister just didn't drive this particular brand of car?
Senator, I think the level of connectedness of vehicles more generally today is starting to make this conversation not moot, but certainly it's not black and white.
I understand that point, and if I had time to discuss that today, I'd be keen to, but we don't. And I think we've all recognised implicit in all the evidence before to Senator Polly's questions that some vendors pose a higher risk than others, and the Australian Government, including you, Secretary, have issued specific directions about specific vendors because of their nation of origin. But I won't keep persisting with that because I want to quickly whip through another matter.